We've been living in Denmark for 7 years, and we've hosted many visitors from around the world. And one question we get often is, why doesn't Denmark use the euro?
That's right. The euro is the official currency of the European Union, but it's only used in countries that are known as the Eurozone. The euro was implemented as a way to enhance economic collaboration between European Union member states, make trade easier, currency exchanges easier, all the things that come with a single common currency.
And while even non-EU countries like Andorra and unofficially Montenegro use the euro, Denmark has decided not to. So why doesn't Denmark use the euro, and will they look at using the euro at some point in the future?
So why would members of the Eurozone elect to use the euro as their currency? There's four main reasons why the euro was chosen. Number one, economic integration. The euro facilitates easier trade and investment across member states by eliminating the need for currency conversion and reducing exchange rate fluctuations. Second, it gives price transparency. Consumers now can easily compare prices across the entire Eurozone, leading to more competitive markets and potentially lower prices. Third, it provides stability. A common currency and a centralized monetary policy can help stabilize economies, particularly in times of financial crisis. And fourth, it gives global influence. The euro is now one of the world's major reserve currencies, enhancing the EU's influence in global financial markets.
So maybe you're wondering, what's the catch? First, there's a bit of a loss of national control. Member states have to relinquish control over their monetary policy when they start to use the euro. This means that they can't adjust interest rates or just print money to manage their own economies. Secondly, there's a bit of economic disparity within the Eurozone. This one-size-fits-all monetary policy can be problematic with countries that have different economic conditions. It leads to issues such as the European debt crisis. Third, it can lead to political tensions. The euro requires significant discipline, which can lead to political tensions and disagreements when member states have those disagreements over budgetary policies and financial support.
So, what did Denmark do when faced with this decision? Denmark secured several opt-outs, also known as carve-outs, from the Maastricht Treaty. These came as a result of national referendum and subsequent negotiations. These opt-outs are what allowed Denmark to stay within the European Union while avoiding certain aspects of the deeper integration that the Danish public and the Danish government were concerned about.
Let's take a deeper dive into how this happened. First, there was a referendum which was rejected in June of 1992. Now, that's when the Maastricht Treaty was first put to referendum in Denmark, and it was narrowly rejected by 50.7% of voters. So this was a significant event. Denmark basically could not ratify the treaty without public approval, and the treaty required unanimous ratification by all member states to go into effect. What that led to was the Edinburgh Agreement. This took place in December of 1992 in response to the referendum's outcome. Now, Denmark's government entered negotiations with the other EU member states and secured opt-outs in areas that were of particular concern to the Danish public. These negotiations led to the agreement, which was signed in December of 1992, where Denmark was granted certain exemptions. It was modified to incorporate these opt-outs, and a second referendum was held that the public in Denmark got to vote on in May of 1993. This was accepted. In the second referendum, these opt-outs came into place. The Danish people voted to accept the Maastricht Treaty with 56.7% in favor. So what were the opt-outs?
So the opt-outs cover four key areas. First is the common security and defense policy. This opt-out means that Denmark does not participate in the EU's defense policy, meaning it does not take part in any military operations under the EU's common security and defense policy. This is one that actually changed in June 2022 after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, where the Danish electorate voted to fully abolish this opt-out and begin participating in the EU's defense operations as of July 2022. Hence, this opt-out is no longer in force. The second opt-out was in justice and home affairs. Denmark originally opted out of the EU's justice and home affairs policies, which covered areas like asylum, integration, and judicial cooperation. Over time, this opt-out's changed as Denmark has renegotiated parts of this, including a referendum in 2015, which allowed Denmark to convert the opt-out to a more flexible opt-in arrangement. So now Denmark can choose to participate in certain areas of this while choosing to stay out of others, especially in areas related to justice and policing. Third, there's an opt-out around citizenship. Denmark insisted that European citizenship, as introduced by the Maastricht Treaty, would be supplementary to national citizenship and not replace it. This was more of a clarification than a full opt-out, but Danish citizens are still EU citizens, but national citizenship remains primary. It's more looking out for future EU rulings rather than opting out of an existing policy that they were afraid of. And fourth, there's the economic and monetary union. This is the one that refers to the euro, as Denmark does not participate in the third stage of this program, which would involve adopting the euro as a national currency. So Denmark retains its national currency, the Danish krone, and it maintains its own monetary policy. However, Denmark does participate in the European exchange rate mechanism, or ERM2, which pegs the krone to the euro within a certain band.
Oh, that's a lot. So where does this leave things today? So these opt-outs allowed Denmark to stay within the EU framework while addressing these domestic concerns that the public and the government were worried about. They didn't lose sovereignty or independence. And as of now, these Euro opt-outs remain particularly significant because Denmark continues to use the Danish kroner, and the other opt-outs in defense and justice have been adjusted over time or reconsidered as the nature of the world and the EU has changed. Denmark maintains a bit of a unique relationship with the EU even today. Danish skepticism of the EU has remained higher than other member states because the relationship with the EU is different than some of the other member states. In almost all aspects of EU relations, Denmark has historically been more regionally focused. They're closely connected to other Nordic states and the UK, as opposed to France and Germany, the largest proponents of the EU. This doesn't mean that Denmark is likely to leave the EU, but adoption of the euro is significantly unlikely, and having this opt-out combined with pegging the kroner to the euro offers a bit of the best of both worlds outcome for Denmark. So if you come to visit Denmark and you're wondering why Denmark is not using the euro and instead they're using the Danish kroner, you will hopefully have a better understanding. And if you want some other tourist tips, including whether you should take out cash or even bother with converting currency when you visit Denmark, you can watch this video right here and learn even more. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Hi.